Hello, everybody. Brian here, quantlabsnet.com. Today is June 28th, 7 p.m. So let's talk about programming C++ specifically. Reason I'm using C++ because a lot of people want to know how to do this and get into it for high frequency trading and the like to work in these big salary jobs. So obviously you could see here Reddit, CPP subreddit. Did I make a bad decision learning C++ as my first language? Looking for advice for my next steps. Of course, they yanked the question because it's career related, but we still got the answers here. So first person says not a wrong decision. C and C++ are the ancestors of virtually every useful modern programming language. Java, JavaScript, Python, not Perl, Go, Rust, all of them most likely behave like C++. Each have their own idioms, improvement quirks, but if you do C++, each of those is easy to learn. It's like learning Latin, and you can learn quite easily French, Spanish, Italian, and so on. All modern C++ one of the most powerful languages today. It has its downsides. C++ comes with a responsibility and risk. Well, don't we know that? Reason is because of Unix, Linux, Windows, Mac OS, which is really BSD Unix, Android, iOS. Every modern OS are written in C++. They work with bare metal all the way up to stacks of the application. You can compile C++ into WebAssembly and run it in a browser. This guy says he's done it. Blah, blah, blah. Written in C++, JavaScript runtime interpreter, written in C++, PHP, C++, Java. But apparently it's written in C++, and I can agree with that. All these modules using Python to do AI, C++. Everywhere you look, it's C++, even the elevator you're on right now. Well, it's not turtles all the way down, but it's C++ all the way down. I'm not aware of C++ being in the Linux kernel. Go switch to a compiler written in Go. Okay, I don't know what the point is there. And Linus said that he's written his basically his parts of the language is C++, the kernel. He's tried to rewrite it in C. He's not a big fan of C++ anymore. And then there's some other pieces written in Rust as well. Linux kernel is and always been written in C. That's not true. It's been rewritten in C. Specialized dialog in its own compiler. Always been good. Old C89. Recently, some madman, however, introduced C11. Since 2022, Rust support language very similar to C, C++. Um, I'm not going to get into the OS war. Have you chosen a different language? I could ask the same question. C++ is a tool. Use it wherever you like. Next step. There's a mistake choosing C++ over something else, then that you have some programming skills. I gotta say that C++ is a hard language. If you can really master it, you pretty well own, I won't say own the world, but you might as well from a programming standpoint, as this previous guy did say. Other languages are much easier as they share some underlying basic knowledge. So learning a language is never a waste of time. It makes learning new languages easier. A similar concept carry over. C++, especially, you learn more about low level concepts. That is so key right there. You're not using some IDE, type up a few lines, got a problem, pull up the AI, pull up the whatever, and blah, blah, blah. Then you get your next set of code. And, you can't really build anything and learn from that. You have to know how to maintain a program, especially in C++. Not that easy at all. And if you look at some of the HFT code out there, maybe on on GitHub, you can quickly learn that C++ is a language, as I said, it's not easy to learn, but you learn it, you master it, you're doing pretty good. If you ever need to understand or rewrite algorithms and implementation C++, you can do that. That's true. And as I said, if you want to get into this high frequency trading arena, you better know how to write algorithms in C++ and be very good at it, very top notch. I've covered that many times over the last few weeks. Um, now, exposes you to have flaws in C++. That's another um, hard part about C++ is to find the errors, the exceptions that come up with C++ because you're doing your own memory management. So learning that as well, especially if on your, as I said there, earlier, the base metal and low latency, you're pretty good at what you do. You're not like some average Joe Schmo learning Python, think they're programmers. The same with JavaScript is a completely different beast. It's like comparing a Rolls Royce against a little Fiat 500. You know what I mean? It's a car, yeah, but the difference, or a Ferrari and a Fiat 500, totally different uh, animals. It's also slightly more of a flex than Python for algorithm interviews. True enough. Yes, it's the ultimate language. It's never a mistake to make C++. They like their languages, guy. Um, how much more should I read? Based on the facts that you said, speed doesn't matter in solo projects. But again, this is another thing not addressed. It's because it's low level, properly written, properly optimized, properly architected. Yeah, these things, these applications in C++ will be much faster. If your project can run smoothly in Python, then you shouldn't use C++ to write in the first place, unless you want to learn what happens behind the scenes. And that's what the HFT trading shops are looking for, people who are like that, to look behind the code, look under the engine to see how the thing works, see what makes it tick. Same when it comes to algorithms, too. Hundreds of fun solo projects as well suited. Physics simulation, games, graphic programming, calculator, interpreter. The first one there, physics, is what you want to pay attention if you want to get into the mindset of of somebody studying physics and then being able to use that, break down the mental process of building out and thinking through modeling and algorithms for trading. They're the best that can do it. I've talked about that many times, and there's been articles I've shown from leading recruiters that are the same. So if you could do that in C++, well, they want to talk to you, I'm sure. I don't know about proficiency in C++, but if you're writing programs and UIs, user interface, most of the time you wouldn't want to write it in a low level language. True. It's not that C++ isn't suited for the solo project. It's that you're not choosing the right project. C++ is terrific choice for the first language and keep mastering it. Definitely a good idea. I agree with that. When I look at all the other languages in there, um, usually we have a beer company up here do one thing and do one thing well. So if you're going to learn just one language, I think learning C++ is the way. It is good to have another language like a Python. That is a requirement, some of these high-end jobs, but to know Python exclusively, most likely it's not a real serious shop that pays really well for trading, algo trading, that is. Um, my opinion, C++ is not that hard if you put your time into it. If you're fluent in C++, switching to other higher level languages is a breeze. In addition, you learn important aspects of programming. That is very true, like OOP. There are people out there that will say object oriented programming is going to die. Those are usually the JavaScript and Python people because, well, those languages are not properly built for object oriented programming. But object oriented programming is important in languages like Python. I won't say Python, C Sharp, C++, Java, and they try to put it into Python. I don't know if that's a success, but up to a point in the concept of programming, up to maybe 5, 10 years ago, it was always OOP. Memory management, file structure, object lifetime, ownership, and much more. Again, you're learning about the life cycles of all these things. Finding a job, it will help most of the time. So as more and more people are looking for jobs, more and more people are getting laid off with jobs. I've heard now in Toronto, Canada, that there's 3,000 applications per programming job. How do you compete against that? And the way to do it, if you're really gung ho about it, is to learn and, as the person says, I think the right language, right word is fluent in C++. Master it, know it. Everything else is just secondary. Depending upon your goal, what you want. If you want to be very well paid in this field and be the best paid, then yeah, C++ is the way. Uh, C++ and C are great languages to learn. For me, back in the early 80s, we only had C to learn. I mastered that language. It was a fairly simple language with Kernighan and Ritchie standards. It was not much harder than that. But once you start to step out 20, 30 years later, 30 years plus, yeah, it's a totally different level to learn. I'd only be interested in learning C++ uh, for just self-learning. Same with the math side as well. And it's just really about challenge. Um, and that's what I could tell you there. Um, yeah, yes, you can learn some languages, but you should ask yourself as learning them, how could these features be implemented in C++? How is a compiler and interpreter doing that? And that is exactly the kind of question you're going to get behind the scenes in these high paying firms. If you don't have these concepts, you're not willing to put the work in, move on. Move on to different applications to develop on, or maybe some will even get out of the IT software business. It's not easy as it used to be. You're learning to be a software engineer, not a language. C++ was the first language I learned, and that's because it's been out one of the longest, many, many years, 30 plus years, as I said. First job was C sharp. C sharp, Java made life easier. As Java evolved, it became more of a go to language, even in the field of high frequency trading. I don't see as much Java for HFT, but bar none, C++ seems to be more and more out there for HFT, high frequency trading work or jobs, high paying jobs. Since my first job, I've worked with a variety of different languages and technology. It's a point now I don't necessarily care what language a job is advertised in, except for a few that I don't like. Most places I interview would say, use any language to complete the interview as well. I don't know what that proves, but well, my bad decision is not learning C and C++ at my first language. And that's a good one. All right, so we're there. As you know, if you want to know more, it's too complicated for you. As you know, we've got our quantlabs.net website. That's a new domain, probably a month old now. If you want to know more about TradingView, which I use, which much easier path, and even with the ability to trade with automation, there's no coding involved anymore because of how it's set up with it with TradingView and this third-party service. So if you want to learn more about that, opt in right here under Learn, and we're going to give you a video of basically 45-minute why TradingView is probably the number one platform out there. Just makes life a lot easier and faster and quicker to get things done. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.